There we go. Keyboard was not working. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we are going to dive into the material design in XAML DrawerHost. I received a whole bunch of requests recently for various video topics. I'm a little tired tonight, and this one actually sounded fun, and I've gotten several questions about it and issues that have come up recently, so I figured why not? Let's dive in and take a look at it. I previously did a stream about the DrawerHost, as it is probably one of the most complicated controls in the material design library. Or I'm sorry, previously did one on the dialog host. That's how tired I am. Mountain Dew. We'll try this again. So we'll take a look at the DrawerHost. First, couple announcements. 1, GitCon is over. However, if you missed it, you can watch all of the videos on demand. And if you go to day 1 and you check out the little channels that they got here, hey, look, my name. So if you're interested in the session I did with Jeff, you can go ahead and check it out, gitcon.com. It'll take you over to the Get Crackin' YouTube page, and you can browse, surf, do whatever. Also, I am happy to announce that I will be at the Microsoft Ignite conference. So if anyone watching this, and it's, before November 15th and 16th, 2023, and you want to come and say hi, I will probably be, I believe it's the 5th floor of the conference center in the expert experience up there around the developer area. So if anybody would like to come touch base, find me there, walk up, say hello. Would love to chat. Okay. Yeah, I think that's everything. I don't know if I need to say much more on Ignite. It's cool. It's awesome. There's going to be great announcements. Check it out. It is sold out for in person. However, it is free for online. So if you would like to do it, obviously there's certain things that are not available online because you can't like walk up and have an in-person discussion if you're online, because that's kind of hard to do. But as far as, streaming the sessions, participating in the discussions, that kind of thing, all there. So feel free to check it out. Okay, so tonight let's start off with a brand new WPF app. So I am once again shamelessly using my own templates because I think they're awesome and wonderful, and we're just going to start there. Let's see, .NET new, and you have to spell it correctly. No Copilot, stop it. Stop trying to be helpful. Thank you. Okay, let's take a look. Where did my Explorer window go? There, okay. Way off in the middle of La La Land. Okay, and open up Visual Studio. Naturally, because it is the day after Update Tuesday, I have obviously gone and installed the latest preview of Visual Studio, because why not? What could possibly go wrong? So if you see all of that ugly output that was on my terminal window, it's simply because I've made a mess of it. Okay, there's been prior videos, and I've talked about it a bunch in terms of the kind of the structure of these apps, but I'll fire it up real quick just so people can kind of see where we're starting from, and then we'll build something out. Okay, so default template gives me a very simple demo application. There's a clear counter and an exit menu. You can go click, 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 click. When you hit 5, it disables the button, clear count, all that jazz. So dependency injection hooked up. It's using the community toolkit, MVVM packages with all of the awesomeness that comes from their source generators and that kind of jazz. It's awesome. There's lots of comments in the generated code. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah. Okay, so, but tonight we are interested in the DrawerHost. So let's go ahead, and I think I'm just going to, well, actually, you know what? We can leave all of this here. We'll just wrap it. Okay, so step 1, if you haven't done so already, install the material design library. Latest version out there, and just for fun, we're going to go ahead and play with, let me manage NuGet package here real quick. We are going to play with the latest pre-release, because right now I think this thing is set up on just the regular release. So we're going to grab the 5.0 pre-release, because nothing says awesomeness like grabbing the latest pre-release and just going for it. So 5.0 is forthcoming. So if you are able to, please check out the preview builds and let me know of any issues you come up with, or if you don't come up with any, I would love to hear that too. What are my actual updates here? Yeah, sure, fine. We can rev those. Those should probably be revved in the template anyway, which probably means my template needs a version kick, since I believe those things are actually already checked into my template. Okay, anyway, moving on. Okay, so latest one. So we've got material design installed, and then the key parts here are on the app.xaml, bringing in some sort of theme, because if you don't bring in any sort of color theme, you will lack coloring and things will not look right, and that's just bad. And then this resource dictionary here brings in all of the default styling. That's it, and you're off to the races. This thing here is just showing off an implicit style for a checkbox, though there isn't a checkbox in the thing. Wondering why I left this in my template. Should probably kill it. But it is showing how you can make all of your checkboxes default to the accent color one instead of the main one. So, not bad. Okay, inside of here, do we even have the material design thing? I don't think we do. So let's just grab the namespace include. Grab the namespace include. Bippity boppity booyah. Okay, so we will do material design : DrawerHost. Okay, so the DrawerHost itself is intended to be used as a content control, meaning there should probably be some content inside of your DrawerHost. Now, the DrawerHost is, you can kind of think of it as the control that you would use if you wanted flyouts coming in from the sides. Now you got left, right, top, bottom. So if we take a look at the DrawerHost here, you'll note that there is, if we look at left, you'll see there's a whole bunch of options around the left drawer. There's similar things if we do something on right drawer, content, click away, string format, content template, template selector, corner radius, all of that stuff. So I think the common ones that people like to do are left and right, so we're going to focus on those. And inside of our lovely stack panel, let's just do a button here. Button, content, open left. All right, so we will do that. And then we need to actually put some content in these drawers so that there's something to see. Because if all you do is put a DrawerHost in by itself, you've set up this container that has flyouts available, but you haven't put any content in the flyouts. So inside of XAML, we use what is called element syntax. So you'll note here, left drawer content. And then for here, we're just going to do maybe a stack panel, give it a width of 300, just so that there's some size there. Stack panels default to vertical orientation. And then we'll do, you know, text block text, hello on left. And then we're going to go through here and do a button, content, close. Okay, so we're going to start here. Now, the first thing that's important to know to do is how might we go about actually opening a DrawerHost? And there's a couple ways you can go about doing it. If you wish to control the opening and closing of your DrawerHost from your view model, which is somewhat common, you might do something like is left drawer open, binding is left drawer open, right? And then in your view model, we could create an observable property. Let's see, observable property. Private bool is left. Come on, Copilot. There you go. Oh, missed it. Okay. Boom. And then for this command here, what we might do is we might go command binding open drawer command. Right? And then we might come in here and we might create a little relay command. Relay command. Oh, you're going to do it, Copilot? You going to do it? Oh, you were so close. You were so close. No, you were so close. Okay, and we're just going to set it to true. Okay, so what we have, an observable property of type bool, a command that can set it to true. And then over here, we have our is left drawer open flag bound to that property with some content in our left drawer. Let's try it out. Boom. Compiling, compiling, compiling. Okay, so we see here, we go open left, and we can see that the drawer slides over. Why the heck are we so... Oh, because previously my stack panel was in grid row 1, and now I wrapped it in a drawer host. So step 1, don't be an idiot. The top level element of my window is a grid. The grid has some rows. Oops, don't drag and drop text, thank you. Grid has some rows. My menu's in my top row. My drawer host is expected to fill the second row, which is set to height of 1 star, which fills the remaining content. Okay, now when we open it. Now, the important thing to note here, the drawer is not covering my menu, right? So the drawer host only covers up the content contained within it. This is very similar to how the dialog host works. Whatever you want it to cover, you put inside of it. Now, often that means that, like the dialog host, your drawer host is going to sit usually near the top of your XAML because, you know, yeah, you could use it at more nested levels, but typically these are things that are kind of more windowy level. And so oftentimes it's not uncommon to see like maybe dialog host inside a dialog host contain a drawer host, and then inside of that you actually get to your real content, just kind of laying out that overlay of where do you want these things to go, right? And you'll note by default, when I just click on the grayed out area over here, poof, goes away, right? This is, some people will call it close on click away, light dismiss, etc. So that guy here is, what is it? Left drawer close on click away, defaults to true. If I go false, now when I open it, if I click off, I got nothing. Nothing, no closing. And this button obviously hasn't been wired up to anything, so it doesn't work. Right, so this guy doesn't do anything, and away we go. So this is kind of option 1 and things to consider. So by default, the light dismiss, the close on click away is set to true. If you do not like that behavior, set it to false for the relevant drawers. There isn't a kind of overarching one because sometimes people want to control individual ones. It's not too uncommon to have, especially when using the drawer host, like the left and rights. Some people will use like the top and bottom to bring notifications in. And so sometimes you want that light dismiss different depending on what you're doing. Also note, if you're using the drawer host to bring something in on the bottom, you might take a look at the snack bar, because if you're looking for kind of that toast notification feel, it's probably the control you're after rather than a drawer host. You can do it with a drawer host. It's just snack bar's got a lot of freebies for you. That'll make it a little bit simpler. The other thing I want to call attention to is the fact that I set this width to 300 here. Now, if I don't do this width 300, what ends up happening is my drawer is now going to shrink in size to contain my content. So whatever that width is going to be. Now, you can push it out with margins and whatnot. However, what I have found is oftentimes I very much want to be controlling the size of these things and not let the content dictate. So, for example, if I wanted to force this text to wrap, something really long that really needs to wrap, right? And we'll go with text wrapping, wrap. All right, so if we do something like this, right, you'll note this is no longer wrapping for me. And it's because that drawer is wanting to size to itself. So sometimes you really don't want to let your drawers default to the content if you have any amount of dynamic content. If you don't have dynamic content and you want to not worry about it, fine, great, have at it. Right? But just be aware that it is going to go through and try and do it, versus if you do something like width 200, right? Now you're going to force the maximum size of your text block to only get to there. It's going to wrap. You could obviously do that at the text block level instead if you didn't want to do it up above, whatever, right? Just the big idea here is making sure that when you are working with your drawer host, that you are actually aware that the drawers themselves are going to size to content unless you do something else about it. Okay, let's talk about this close button. So one possible implementation is we could wire this guy up to another command inside of our view model and go through and say, okay, you know, we'll set the bound property back to false. But sometimes we don't actually care to have a backing view model property. This is actually not needed. So it's needed, this bound property is only needed if you want to control it from the view model for some reason. Maybe you've got, you know, a web service call or a database lookup, and once that completes, you want to bring the flyout open. Great, fine, bind the property, have at it, you're in complete control. However, a common use case is I clicky button, drawer opens. I light dismiss, drawer closes. If that's the behavior you're after, or maybe you want the button to explicitly close it, there is a concept in WPF called a routed command. So let's take a look at that. So a routed command, and in this case, it's going to be under material design, DrawerHost. What is it? Close drawer command. Okay, and then this guy actually takes a command parameter, and this is going to be let's see, x static doc left. So the DrawerHost internally is implemented with a doc. Let's try that again. The DrawerHost internally is implemented with a doc panel. A doc panel has this little doc enum, and rather than rebuilding this exact enum ourselves, we just reused the one that was already implemented. However, and I will be the first to acknowledge, knowing that you need to leverage this may not be the most intuitive. Just throw that out there, right? May not be the most intuitive. But it kind of conceptually makes sense. When you think of a DrawerHost as having the 4 drawers coming in from the sides, the drawers are often seen as flyouts. People will often refer to them as being docked, left, right, top, bottom. Great. Kind of works. So we abuse this guy here. So if we take a look at this guy now, when I hit close, it now closes. Right? So I can open left, close. I did nothing in the view model. Right? So how does this routed command actually end up working? For that, let's take a look at the actual material design in XAML project. Because I think I think oftentimes people get confused with routed commands, and I kind of just want to show the implementation of them. Okay, so here is the DrawerHost control, and the routed commands are implemented as public static fields. Okay, public static fields, not properties, public static fields. And you'll note when we referenced it in our code over here, we used the X static to say that we were going after it. And there's our namespace, our class name, and then our member name. And that assigns it here. But you'll note when we set these things up, we're just calling new. There's nothing fancy about this at all. The question then is, where does the implementation of this come from? And with a routed command, the big idea is there is a separation between the control that raises the command and the control that handles the command. In our case, the control that raises the command is going to be this button, and the control that we would like to handle this command is going to be the DrawerHost. Now, the DrawerHost very conveniently in its constructor defaults to setting up handlers for these commands. Now, if you wanted to use a routed command elsewhere, that's totally fine. But you'll note it's got this drawer, close drawer command as the first parameter, and then this handler over here. So you'll note when it gets in here, there's some event args, a sender, a pattern that you're probably familiar with. And you'll note here, this thing is explicitly looking for a parameter of type doc. That's the enum we looked at a moment ago. And if it finds it, it says, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to trigger the on drawer closing, give people an opportunity to cancel it if they want. And then we're going to go ahead and set the open flag to false. And we're just going to straight up close that drawer. Right? And so that then flows all the way in here. You'll note the set open flag looks for the doc parameter. I guess I did fail to mention that if you don't set the doc parameter, it's just going to do all of them. So if you wanted to just close all drawers, boom, 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 you can just do this, which in our case, we only have one drawer right now. They're functionally the same. I generally don't like doing the don't pass the parameter option because if you add a drawer in later, this is probably now accidental behavior, not intentional behavior. I prefer to set it, but to each his own, have fun. So, but that's the idea with routed commands. Now, when you end up executing this command, what happens is the command will fire and the routed command will walk up through your XAML, up through the visual tree, looking for a handler. If it doesn't find a handler, it will go ahead and do nothing. So for example, if we were to go over here, right, and go, how about we'll do close over here, right? If we do this guy, just bring him up. We take a look at here. Let's relaunch this guy real quick because I only mostly trust this. The hot reload sort of works. Okay, so you'll note this close, whoop, whoop. So now we've got this nice disjoint between where it finds it and where it goes. I'm actually a little surprised that this was able to work. I'm a little, I sort of expected it not to be in the, let me put a button down here. Button, grid, row, 1, test. I'm a little surprised when it went to execute that it was able to find the drawer host. I sort of expected it was living outside of, oh, grid row 2. There, that's closer to the behavior I was expecting. I'm not entirely clear how that menu item's working. This is the behavior I was expecting, is completely disabled. Obviously that's working. I'm gonna have to go look into how it's actually finding the dialog host. This is the behavior I was expecting down here, where the button is completely disabled because it is unable to find a handler. The idea here with routed commands is you can specify a command target, because when it walks up the tree, it's not going to find the drawer host. It's next to it. It's alongside rather than inside of it. If you're inside of it, you don't need to care. It'll find it in the tree and you're off to the races. When you're not inside of it, that won't work. So if we give this guy a name real quick, I don't know, drawer, let's just make it obvious. When you name it like the type name, people get confused. So command target here, this guy here is just a an input element, and so we can do something like binding element name, something like that. And now you'll note when we open this guy, this button closes it. We'll make it test close. I'm very surprised that the menu is able to work. I'll have to go look at how that is actually working. This is why you should test your samples ahead of time rather than just assuming you know how they work. Yeah, and you'll also note that this button, it's hard to tell. This button is disabled when the drawer is closed. It's hard to tell because it's hidden. But you can kind of, if you pay real close attention, as soon as you hit close, the button does disable as the animation is going there. Because it now knows, hey, that drawer isn't open, so it doesn't make sense to have it closed, so it defaults the can execute to be false. So, for example, if we go back up to where we registered our routed command, right? This guy here, handled return, handled true. Not opposed to a side quest to see why you can trigger from a menu. We may end up going down that because that's going to bother me, but I want to get through a few of the other things on this DrawerHost first before I get too sidetracked. Not that I ever get sidetracked. Okay, other cool things about the DrawerHost. So, obviously this is behaving as though it is a flyout. You don't have to have it behave as a flyout. There are actually a couple different options available to you. And I think I'm going to pop the demo app real quick for material design because I think this shows it off slightly better. We'll go play with them here in a minute, but I kind of want to just show this guy. Go on. Compile, run. Okay. Drawer. Okay, so this guy just demonstrates it, and this is using a drawer at the most nested level. And you can see here, it's trying to show off all kinds of features all together. But, so we've got this standard mode versus the default mode. So in default mode, it runs the same way as what you would expect with kind of a flyout over the top. Whereas in standard mode, this guy is now going to actually shove the content over to the side. And I think we can see it. Does it show it in here or is it hidden away from us? Can't remember how this demo is actually set up. Left drawer, top drawer, blah, blah, blah. Can't remember. I don't see it shown directly in here. Well, we'll just go back to our demo app and play with it there. So if we go here, I believe it's just called open mode. We've got default, standard, and I wonder why we don't show modal in close. Open left. I wonder why that one doesn't go through. Oh, I bet you it's because these things are mapped to the same value. I bet you that's the kicker. We go and take a quick look at it. We look at open mode. Yeah, modal and default are the exact same value. That's why it doesn't show it. But if we want to go here and go standard, we can then see when we open left that our stuff gets shoved to the side. If you are going to run in the standard way, and this was a judgment call, because when you aren't running as standard and you're running as default or modal, wrong one. It's very obvious where the disjoint or where the separation is between your drawer and your main content. Whereas when you're running with, without that, and you are just doing open mode standard, things easily get lost here, especially if you're just using the default coloring, because there is no separation. Now, there's multiple ways you could go about doing this. You could go through and set up like a border and do a line separator. My personal preference is actually more akin to how the demo app does it, because you'll note here, this guy is actually leveraging a DrawerHost, but it's slightly different. I don't know if it's obvious because of the dark on dark. Let me switch it to light mode real quick, and that's probably be a little easier to see. So you can kind of see the shadow that's being put on, versus if I come over here and change my other app to light mode. Let's see, base theme, light. Let's see, and then if we come over here and change you to default, there's kind of the extra little gradient that's along here, and it's not trivial to see. I don't have my stuff running. I really need to have a script that does this for me. There we go. So if it's not obvious, there's this little extra bit of shadowing that comes through here from elevation, to be able to show that there's that difference inside of there. So if you are running as standard, depending on what kind of look you're going for, Whether you're really just kind of looking for this separation, it's probably a reasonable idea to consider going through and making it a particular, have some level of separation. So let's see. What is it shadow assist? Let's see. Where is the, hang on, I gotta look. I don't remember where this sucker is. There's a, oh, the easy way. Just wrap this sucker in a card. Because a shit card will do it for me. Down here, come down here. And then if we do, well, let's just look at that real quick first. So you can see there we're getting a little bit of an elevation change just by wrapping it in a card. There's now a separator there. But we can actually go through and make this bigger. Go shadow assist. Am I? Elevation assist. Elevation. There we go. Let's bump this up to like a, I don't know, an 8. Something big enough to be seen. So now we've got a much bigger set of elevation here. You can see the elevation inside of the material design and XAML library is just implemented with a drop shadow. And so when you set that elevation assist to one of the DP values, effectively think of it as your drop shadow radius just increasing. In material design, they'll talk about layers and elevation. And so the drop shadow gives you those bits of elevation. I would have to go back and read the spec. I don't remember what the guidelines are here as far as what's acceptable, but me personally, I might do a card and I might just turn the corner radius off because corner radius 0, because I kind of like the square look here, right? Something more akin to that, just to be able to separate it out. Again, to each his own. Decide what makes sense for your app, but being able to have some semblance even when you do this. And you know what? Maybe I should separate some of these guys apart. So let's go. Let's do a right drawer too. Open right, and then we can do that. We can do this, and then we're just gonna do something akin to this. Right. It is worth noting there is no way to mix and match the open mode on a per drawer basis. Everything's either going to be in the standard or the non. Let's see, closed drawer right, hello on right, something more akin to this, something more akin to this, open right, and then this guy here we're just gonna do, we're gonna just show off both side by side. I think this goes well. Let's see, command parameter, and then we're just gonna grab the dock right, because we're gonna have the right dock be our example of, oh, doesn't want to play nice with me. Suppose I did just change a bunch of stuff on it. Okay. Nope. Open right. Am I stupid? Let's see. Oh, you need this to be the open command, not the close command. That will make a difference. If you don't do the open command, it will not open. And then something like that. There you go. So we can push it from the side. Right, and this guy now is closing all drawers. About close all, something like that. There. Choo choo cha. Wacha. Okay. Let's see, open mode, that one there. There was one other thing that was kind of briefly shown here from this bottom, the idea that there is this kind of concept of a corner radius. So if we come back up to our drawer host, do right drawer, let's see, right drawer corner radius, we can do something like a 20, just to give it a nice rounded edge. And you know, when we open it, it's really hard to see a corner radius if it's not bloody there, or if it's not obvious where it is. So in this case, let's just do background fuchsia, because that is always the color of success. Okay. Restart that sucker, because I don't trust the hot reload to pick up all of these custom control changes. Okay, I'm an idiot. What did I do wrong? Let's see. Corner radius, that looks right. Bottom. Huh? Bottom drawer corner radius. Did I... Right drawer corner radius? Is right drawer corner radius not working? That would be hilarious. Am I just... Am I missing something obvious? Left drawer corner radius. Left drawer content. I mean, it clearly works. It works right there. Okay. Well, we're gonna just debug this guy real quick, because now I'm really curious. Okay. So if we come here, open right, take our beloved Snoop. So you drag the crosshairs from the binoculars on top of anywhere in the window that you want to snoop or debug in this case. And then the magical incantation is put your cursor over what you're interested in, Control Shift. You'll note it zeroes us in right on what we were looking at. So what I kind of expect here is this guy has a... Oh, the adorner decorator clearly has the corner radius applied. Let's see, and if we do here, that clearly has the corner radius. And then huh? I'm missing something obvious, because it's clearly right there. And when I hover on it, I can see down at the bottom there that this guy here clearly has a corner radius, because when you hover on an item in Snoop, you do get this nice preview look of what the element is, which is very convenient to be able to find it. Why you don't work the way I expect? Okay. Okay, now I have to look, because clearly the other one works exactly as designed, and I'm gonna just... No, I shouldn't need to check the... Yeah, I shouldn't need to check that. This guy is literally just the same. Oh, it's because my content's sitting on top of it. If I do this and bring it in, I still don't know. Why would you... Okay, let's go look at the theme. Sorry, detour. Detour while we debug why it's not working. Because secretly this is also a test for the 5.0 release. Because there's very plausibly things that are broken. However, the demo app is running latest and greatest as well. Is it in generic? Where's the DrawerHost style? Color zone. DrawerHost. Okay, so there's that. There's the visual state groups. And we have content cover, left drawer, right drawer. And we have right drawer z-index. There's what you kind of would expect. Adorner, decorator, shadow, effect. I want to relaunch because I'm convinced that adorner is doing its job and I'm just too stupid to see it. Okay, clearly it works on the bottom one. Now I'm mildly concerned as to how. I want to look at the bottom drawer and see if there's anything different in here. Set up accordingly. Adorner, decorator, bottom corner radius. Okay, what am I missing? I'm clearly missing something because this clearly has it working. I'm sorry, I just got to take a look at this. Okay, so there's Snoop. We are targeting the bottom border. This guy down here clearly has it set. Oh, because this guy's down. Oh. That's how. Okay. Okay. Well, this is a good lesson. This is a good lesson. Okay, so I'm an idiot, and I will demonstrate what I did wrong. So I slapped a stack panel in here and went through and basically drew a box with a background of fuchsia, margin of 16, put some elements in it. The issue that's running in is this type of background doesn't let you see the corner radius. Now, if we were to go up here, right drawer background and do fuchsia, huzzah. Huzzah. So the difference being, if you set the background of your content rides functionally on top of the drawer, and it can cover up the corners. And in my case, even though I set a margin on the stack panel to inset it so it wasn't covering up the corners, it was still setting the fuchsia color background on the content, and the content doesn't get the corner radius applied to it. Right, the background color and the corner radius get applied to the drawer itself, not the content on top of it. So when in doubt, don't be dumb. And then you can do something like that. Though I think we're going to change this. So let's see. I think it's, what is it? 0, 0, 0, 0, 20. I think are the two corners for the right side. Yeah, so these guys can be rounded on there. Okay, if we go back to open mode default, where we have the overlay here, this overlay color is a default one that is applied. However, the demo app, as we were just briefly looking at it, does show a way of changing it. So there is an overlay background. and we can come up here and we can do something like overlay background gets, I don't know, blue. Right, and this immediately goes in, and you can start to theme it out if you really prefer to have a blue rather than a black, so be it. I don't think there is any way to change the. I think the opacity is just fixed, but let me confirm that real quick. Well, we already got it open. Let's see. Yeah, I believe the target opacity is fixed because it has to animate it with the visual state. So it is going to animate, yeah, so it's going to animate to 0.56 of, so basically half opacity of whatever color you set is going to be the on. And at present, there is no configuration for it yourself. Okay, what else did I miss on the DrawerHost? Let's see, we've got the open all, the close this. We've got the corner radius, the color, background overlay color. Let's do default. This just demonstrates putting it a purple in or whatever else you want. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Okay, Victor, I think you're going to win, and we're going to go chase down why the heck this menu item works. Because that bothers me. That bothers me that the menu item works. Because clearly, without the command target, the button fails. Right? So without the command target, the button is disabled, but yet this guy works. I don't understand. Okay, so let's just snoop it. Let's take a look at our events. So, command manager executed, can execute, and then we're just going to clear it. Wow, what is going on? Interesting. I'm not entirely clear whether these are coming from or are these coming from Snoop itself? These might be coming from Snoop itself. Because once it's inside of the app, it picks up its own things. I'd love to look at which elements these are. Oh, that is funny. That is funny. Okay, let's close these up. So we're gonna open left. And we're gonna go File, Close. Okay, routed command on menu item. So menu item to stack panel to items presenter. So you can see the routed command started on the menu item and walked all the way up. And that got it all the way up to items presenter border. Button handled. Wait. Routed command on button. Open left. Routed command on menu. Something is messing with me. Okay. I want to clear you. I want to open left. I want to clear you again. File. Close. Why did the routed command on the button fire? Especially open left. Routed command on menu. That got all the way up to main window, but it was already handled by menu. Routed command on menu, handled by menu. Interesting. Why did this routed command start on the menu? Why did that go down there? Okay, I'm curious now. If I get rid of this. Nope, that's not what I want. If I get rid of this and we relaunch. Take a brief gander. It's clearly still there. Target the window again. Fire it up. Vents. I really do want to go through and submit a PR that lets me have a button that just defaults to uncheck. Like, I want an option to uncheck all these boxes in one click rather than having to scroll through these from the defaults. Like, I don't mind the defaults, but I want another option here that's like just clear all or whatever. Okay, so command manager executed. File, close. Routed command on button. So that, I'm very concerned because this is the open left button that this thing then reports opened was processed. And obviously this makes sense. When the open one fires, it walks up to the drawer host. The drawer host handles it, and we move on. The menu then apparently triggers next. The item's already in a handled state, but it started at the menu. Being outside, yeah. Okay. Yeah, commanding. Yeah. Command library, create custom commands. Yeah, so this goes through simple commands. Is controlled as support, blah, blah, blah. The command is the action to be executed. The source is the object which invokes the command. The target is the one the command is to be executed on. The command binding maps the object in. Great. Because if a drawer is supposed to close when you click outside, maybe makes sense. Oh, I see what you're saying, because I'm clicking outside of here, except for I've turned off the light dismiss. When I click here, it isn't actually closing. It's a good thought, but I don't think that is actually getting it. The that implement command source, button, menu, hyperlink. Context menu, menu item, yep. Yep. Associates command with the command handler. Makes sense. I'm just gonna really quick confirm that there's nothing. I don't recall there being anything that exists inside of here for the drawer host to automatically, but it's, does anything else register up on this closed drawer? There's exactly one command binding created. And then there's a couple tests. So just to make sure I'm not missing anything. There's the demo app. That's a UI test. There is a DrawerHost. And then tests. So no one else is registering for it. So how do routed commands get there? Yeah, so command target. If the command target is set on the corresponding command is not a routed command, the command target is ignored, right? It only makes sense for routed commands. I am noticing they're playing with menus a lot. Oh, actually, that's a good point. The command manager. Oh, that's what we're already testing. It's just that is really bloody chatty. Really chatty. Oh, did not mean to click there. Let's see. Requery, command library. Custom routed command sample. Yeah, I think that's exactly. There's nothing there. That is command event accessors, center class. This is a very old article. Go to definition. That's not it. Nope. 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 Interesting. Okay, well let's try this a different approach then. Let's try this a different approach. Does it make a difference if this menu is in the bottom? Just hypothetical. And we probably need to hide our other button. It's not covering it up. We move our menu to the very bottom, which is ugly. Don't do this. Still is able to find it. Okay. If we move the drawer host down a level and hide it inside of a grid so that it's not adjacent. Let's see. Grid row 1. Does it work then? Okay, open left. How is it finding it? How is it finding it? Like, it's impressive that it works. I'm just shocked and trying to figure out, how does this command know? Let's do this. Let's do partial on is left drawer open, changing. just breakpoint it here. I am curious to look at the call stack. How did we get here? Left open. Great. File. Close. Okay, new value is clearly going to be false. Old value is true. Great. Call stack. Let's see. So we came into the bound property. This is going through here. So this guy got into here, got the set open flag to false. Okay, keep going up. Close drawer handler. How does it know which one to invoke? Because it got to the command handler. Because the command manager handled the command binding. Handle command binding. Sure, let's keep going up. Command binding, find match. So it came in here. The command should be our routed command. I don't have an ID set on it, which makes it somewhat difficult to identify. But we can fix that. We go here and we scroll up to where it's defined. Let's see. This is close. And then I need my watch window. Close drawer command. Make object ID. $1. And then we're going to go back to find command binding. We look at command. It is the same one, so that is our command. It found a command binding because it had to have found a binding. The command binding itself here. Watch here. If we do look at the command binding. Been optimized out. Not sender. Okay, so the handle command bindings. Just keep chasing this up. How did we get here? On executed. The drawer host. Whoa, 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 whoa. How did the drawer host become the sender of on executed? Invoke handler. Raise. Interesting. I'm about to learn something new, I think. Let's see. Can we look at target? Yeah, of course you've been optimized away. That would be too convenient if you weren't. User initiated. Where are you? Invoke handler. So you can see the lines are not perfectly lining up. sender is... How's the sender doing that? Okay, I had kind of assumed that it wasn't coming from here, but now I'm not so sure. This guy just added up a command binding. Interesting. Parent scope. So I'm still a little confused as to how we got all the way into there. Because this is menu item, invoke click after render. So this is the thing that's getting clicked. Routed command. So it was not executed. UI element. UI element would have come from target, but target came from, let's see, execute implementation. I don't see. Jump from right there to there. How did we get there? I'm betting something was optimized out. Command is routed command, so it would have matched it there. Command source would have been the command target. So I guess the other thing to look at is, does this thing have a command target that's being set on it? Just take a look. If I pull this guy up and target him, let's see here. Menu item. If I look at his command target, it's empty. Empty. All you have is the routed command itself. So how are you able to find the right host? Okay, so next question. Let's test one more thing. What happens, because clearly putting in a grid doesn't do jack. Get rid of that, get rid of that. What happens if we do a second drawer host? Right? Put you back, because moving you to the bottom didn't do anything. We'll put you to the top. We're going to do a second one down here. It's basically identical. Grid row 2. We're going to get rid of everything having to do with the right and only focus on the left. Get rid of the binding. Get rid of the overlay. Get rid of his left drawer open. We're going to have the routed command there. Right drawer doesn't matter. We're going to get rid of the clicky stuff in the image. And this guy here, we're going to just make him a routed command to open his left. We'll do this here. Okay. Now we should have a button inside that'll open the left. The left should be a thing. Yeah, let's look at this. Okay, so we're going to go open left. Disable that. Don't care to see you at the moment. Open left. Close, close. Open left, open left. Okay, what is this going to do? Closes the last one. How If there's two of them, it's just blindly picking the last one. Why? Okay. Command source menu. I am curious if the menu's implementation has done something fancy. Because menu item is specifically called out. Run a command, execute. This just goes against everything that I thought that I knew, and so it's bothering me a little bit. Object use command is checkable. Just click events, sure, fine. Header to item control, great. And bindings, command parameter, command target. I don't see anything magical. Okay, so we are going to once again grab this. We are once again going to chase it from here. Oh, because it's hitting the other one. Interesting. I didn't do anything weird in this app, right? No, I don't think I did. I don't think I did. Just make sure there's nothing funky in the code behind where I mucked with something. I did register up a command binding for application commands close, but that's nothing fancy. That's literally just showing off how this exit menu works. How is that menu able to find? Okay, if I come over here, because it's clearly able to find it. If we come to this drawer host, do the same thing. Turn off this breakpoint really quick. Open left. Okay, so they open together. Good. Now, we are going to come up here and once again catch it on close. We're going to chase the bunny rabbit. Okay, so the binding is doing it. Set open flag, close drawer handler. These make sense because the command is being executed. Command binding on executed. Handle command binding, command manager. And this is where things get weird because the command manager sender shows as the drawer host. Why would the sender be a drawer host instance? And more importantly, how? Does this guy have a name set on him? Example drawer host. Interesting. This guy does have it set on him. I wonder if we're going to see this a second time. It's interesting that that one. Interesting that that one would do it. Let me remove the binding there. And without that binding, I'm willing to bet when we walk up the call stack and look at it, oh, that's the wrong one. So let's try this again. Open, yep, ignore, close. Okay. Is it here? No. Because here's where it actually gives me a sender. Name is empty. So it's now coming from the other one as the sender. Okay. Sender comes from where? Sender comes from onExecuted first parameter. Invoke event handler. This is the subtle problem with optimized code, is it's really hard to see. Invoke handler. Invoke event handler. And that got it to here. Okay. E. Routed event args. The original source is the button. The routed event is command manager executed. The command is our routed command. Original source. It's interesting to me that the original source is showing up as our button. The one called open left. That doesn't make any sense. Why would that button be causing this to trigger? Okay, so I want to see the difference here. So this guy actually doesn't need to exist. And we should still work because this will trigger the top one. Will trigger the opening of the drawer on the bottom one because of the data binding. And now when we do close, what the heck? Now close doesn't trigger anything. Huh? I'm very confused. Okay, hold on. Let's confirm what I think I just saw. If I put this button back, and I open you, Let's disable you for the moment. And then I go File, Close. No longer working. Okay. Oh. Oh. Inspiration. Inspiration. I get it now. I get it now. Okay. Wow. That was head hurting. Better than never. What's today's topic? Hey, Andrew. We were playing around with the DrawerHost and material design, going through it, and then I ran into a very interesting problem. Okay. I think I understand this, so I'm going to talk through what I think the problem is and what the solution is. And if anyone spots it before me, you win. Okay, so let's back up. Let's back up. We have 2 DrawerHost instances created. Okay, we're gonna ignore the right drawer. Inside of each of the drawer instances are buttons, and the buttons in question that matter are this open left and this open left 2. Now, specifically, what is important here is the fact that what's important is that these buttons are inside of the DrawerHost. Okay? So these go through and open, right? And what we saw down here with this button, and I'm gonna just give me one more row definition, right? We're gonna put this up, because what we showed with this button down here is that this will not work. This routed command will not work to close the DrawerHost because the routed command needs to know its command's target. It doesn't know where the command target is. And so when we launch this guy, I think I finally made sense of this. Somebody's in the wrong row, right? 3. Right? Okay. So this guy can open and close, right? That works. This close button is never working because it doesn't know where it is. This one, which we removed the data binding for, which is not... Yeah, so hang on. It's not the data binding. It's not the data binding. So, left drawer open, DrawerHost, left drawer content. These are both just so the bottom DrawerHost down here, this one is just using routed commands to open and close. This one is using data binding on this is left drawer open property, which is a simplistic observable property, nothing fancy. Right? We've got a command that sets the value to true. In our XAML, we have inside the left drawer, we have a routed command that will set it back to false. And this routed command works because when it's executed, it walks up the hierarchy looking for a command target that will handle the command, which in this case, we saw that the DrawerHost constructor registers up for these routed commands. It has handlers, right, in its constructor, right? Okay, that's how these buttons work, right? Open, close, everyone's happy. The confusion comes when you go open, file, close. And I'm going, what the heck? Because this menu item here is just using the routed command without a command target. This exact same setup is exactly what this button down here is doing, and it never enables. Never can find it, right? It has no idea where this sucker is. Now, I think, if If we open this up, we'll see something interesting. So I think what we can also do is open, file, close, and it works. Open, file, close, and it works. Does anyone see it? That's the part. This is the part that was confusing me, is I wasn't tracking where it is. Open left. It's following focus. See this down here? Snoop has got so many useful features. So many useful features, right? So when this guy fires, it's following keyboard focus to know where the heck to go. And so that's what. So if we do open left, keyboard focus is a button. If we click, we can see that the button in question is the open left. It's kind of hard to with that blue border, but it's got the little Snoop red border around it. So when this command fires, that's the reason the open left was showing as the source of the command. It was following the focused element to know where to apply it to. Oh, world makes sense again. World makes sense again. Menu items are magical apparently and will use the focused item as their target. Interesting. I am sure there is probably something in here that calls that out, and I am willing to bet. Yeah, so there's the following example shows how to set up a menu item so that when it is clicked, it will invoke the paste command on a text box, assuming the text box has keyboard focus. So this menu item here is very intentionally executing this on the keyboard focused element. Let's see, the WPF is the routed command and is the focus of this overview. That's not it. There's the line there. The command target is the object on which to execute the command. The command target property is only applicable when it is a routed command. Great. If the command target is set on a command source and the corresponding is not a routed command, it is ignored. Great. If the command target is not set, the element with keyboard focus will be the command target. There is the line of documentation I needed. So, everything I said earlier was accurate, with one minor addition that we're going to slap on here. If you don't set the command target will be the thing with keyboard focus. And if you are struggling to find your keyboard focus element, install Snoop, and it will tell you, and your world will be happier, and everything will be wonderful. Worth noting, the keyboard focus element down here, you'll see its button. As soon as I move around, you will find that the focused element ends up changing at different points. So just be aware. But this is an awesome item to be able to go through and do. So, okay, so in general, you probably want to set your command target, unless, of course, you are implementing something like that paste menu where it's like, hey, I want an edit menu with a paste that closes everything down. Okay, so the only reason that was working is because focus was remaining on this button. Now, one could argue that's possibly a bug, and focus should probably move off of the button into something in here. Maybe. I don't know if that's the best place for the material design library to automatically do it, or if it's better to let the app developer do it. 6 one, half a dozen the other. But there is that. Okay. Was there anything else on the DrawerHost that was worth going into? I think that mostly covers it. So, high-level overview. Use it when you want the flyouts coming in from one of the sides. Data bind if you care about controlling the status from your view model to just a Boolean property. It'll make your life easy. If you don't care about controlling it from the view model at all and you just want it UI controlled, the routed commands are great. I highly recommend setting the command target. Hang on, I just want to prove something to myself. If I explicitly null this sucker out, I bet you it never fires now. I bet you. So open left. No. Null must be the default. I'd have to go and pull it up elsewhere because I want to see the default of the dependency property. Interesting. Anyway, and then key features to be aware of are the open mode of default when you want the overlay, or the modal. The standard option if you want it to slide your content to the side versus overlaying it on top. Very useful if you're building, say, like a Gmail clone or something, where they've kind of got the push out to the side. Corner radius and background color. That's just for purdies. Use as you see fit. I personally would say the use of the material design card, I think, is potentially one of the most underrated controls in the entire library. The fact that it gives you the ability to get nice elevation stuff kind of out the gate for free it adds a nice pop. So if there's, now obviously anything can be overdone, but if you've got something where adding elevation adds clarity, the card is a really powerful control for doing that, and does make things just look a little bit nicer. There's something nice about it. Be aware that the card does need a little bit of space around it. The card has that drop shadow on all four sides, but because only one of the sides has any extra space, it's getting cut off. So you never actually see the shadow on any of the sides. Now we could put a margin on the card to give it that extra space, but then it's going to look awkward because it's not going to be top of line type situation. So be aware of that it's worth keeping things in place. Yeah, I think there's that. There's the DrawerHost. Everything is simple and working. Cool. Okay. I think that's everything on DrawerHost I want to cover. Now, something completely unrelated and completely different. I discovered a bug in my TreeView, and I'd like to go fix it because it bothered me and I wanted it to die. So I've started implementing it on another project, which is great because it has been a perfect opportunity for me to put it through its paces. But I discovered that there is a flaw in it when the bound collection is a collection view. So we're going to go and just fix that. So we've got all of these UI tests in here, which are great. Guess we don't need that using. We can get rid of it. Let's go ahead and do a new user control, because this is, so for the UI tests in the material design library, the XAML test is really great if you just want to throw raw XAML at it. The moment you want to do like code behindy stuff, the easiest thing to do is just build a user control and use that. TreeListView with how about collection view? We'll do that. Boom. Okay, sudo build me a TreeListView, and then I'm just gonna, so I'm gonna more or less copy the whole thing, and then we're gonna go with TreeListView with collection view. So little known trick. So this X class determines the class for the code behind of your XAML. You can actually leverage this in resource dictionaries. So if you ever run into a situation where you're like, man, I really like this resource dictionary, but I don't want to have to move it somewhere else because it doesn't have a code behind, you can give your resource dictionaries code behind files. They don't come by default, but you can beat them into submission and make them have one. Use that knowledge at your own risk. Okay, let's see. TreeListView with collection, and then I probably want to grab... I want to do something like this, but I also want to... Is that what was in this one? No, what are in these? I probably want to do something a little bit more akin to this. Actually, I don't really care about most of this. Let's go here. And then we're gonna just flatten you up and clean you up and paste. Okay, and then we're gonna go copy, paste, get rid of this. Okay, so got this. We've got this. Let's see. So this will build that out. That'll build that out. Let's go write the test so we can play with this and make sure it's working before we get too carried away. TreeListView test. And let's just collapse this guy down. Nope, not the button I told you to do. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's go with test public async task TreeListView with collection view renders items. Boom, boom, boom. And then we can get pretty close with this, because this should basically just work out of the gate. And then we want to come up here, and I would like to attach to remote process false. Great. If I do this and I debug this test, it should open up and work. Crossing fingers. Hoping it opens up on this screen and not on a different screen, because that's going to be very unimpressive if it opens up on my other monitor. Come on. Go compiler logic. There we go. Okay. I think one of my colleagues was complaining about this earlier. There seems to be an issue on the latest preview Visual Studio where when you hit a breakpoint, you'll note it's taking a little while. Yeah, that was very long to stop at a breakpoint. Very long. Hallelujah, we stopped at the breakpoint though. Okay, so we can come over here, we can play around with this. Okay, so this gets us pretty close. Visual Studio, what are you doing? Visual Studio may be crashing. It's not hip to whatever the heck I'm doing. Come on. Just stop executing the test. This was not meant to be a hard test for you, Visual Studio. Okay, so test starts up, test launches, test works. Now, I want to make sure I don't like this template selector, so we're going to grab something more akin to this. And we're going to put that in its place. Let's see, because I don't want any of this stuff. I just want something simple with the text block. Format my XAML. Thank you. Okay, something real simple. Tree list view, items, binding, displays the value. Everyone's happy. Great. We'll check the test out really quick. Assert content. We're just going to do. We're going to get rid of the colors. Because nope. There we go. Okay. So that should, if I run this test blindly without doing anything, this test should go green. Okay. I'm a little concerned that it's not launching the right one. So this is tree list view with collection view. Okay, let's try this again. Because we're going to do, rather than just going red, green on this test, we're going to go green, red, green. That's the goal. Okay, so there's green. Perfect. Now, we would like to break this. So rather than what is being set up here, I would like to make you private. I would like to do a public I collection view, and I'm going to name it items. Yeah, that's going to work just fine. Thank you. Items source. So I just need you to have a different name. And then we'll do this. And then down here, he's unhappy. And what we should be able to do is collection view source, get default view of item source. And then we should be able to take this guy here and plug it into items like that. Okay, now my suspicion, based on the behavior I saw, was this now fails. And it may be, yeah, good. Okay, so green, red, now we go green. So now the question is, why do it fail? Because all we did was change it off of an observable collection. I do want to just confirm, I'm fairly confident I know the answer to this, but if I do public list tree item items, right, right, like this, and I do this, and I think if I do down here and go items gets items source to list, I think this actually works. But I want to confirm. I realize that my tests were written only with observable collections, which is probably what you want to use. Oh, list doesn't even work. Oh. So clearly I've hard-coded something to observable collection. So it's not just collection view that doesn't work. It's straight up list that doesn't work either. Great. I was worried I made this thing too bulletproof. Okay, so let's go down. That's immediately making me suspect of the wrapper collection that we did for this. The fact that even list doesn't work, because at first I was thinking that it was, you know, maybe I only handled iList of T and not non-generic iList. But now I'm thinking that it is, yeah, this coerce value callback. I strongly suspect it's right about here. Because when the items get bound in, this callback occurs, and you'll note this internal item source, we call its constructor passing in the new value. This guy, this is going of T, but this is always of object. So the T is kind of worthless here. I am wondering if this guy should be non-generic. I need him to be generic, though. I need him to be generic. Well, I don't need him to be generic. This guy could be observable collection of object. And this class is technically public, but I did put it in the internal namespace. And the only reason it's set up that way is I have a strong suspicion if I make it internal, people are going to want to do custom things with this tree list view. And if that class is internal, they won't be able to do it. So I've made it public so people can do stuff with it if they want. I don't think you should, because I reserve the right to treat this like an internal class and change it willy-nilly. But yeah, so I'm curious what happens right inside of this coerce callback. This is where I suspect the bug is. And this is where we will follow. This is where we will start our adventure. Oh, we aren't going to hit that breakpoint, are we? Nope. Because we are not attaching to the remote. Wow, Visual Studio, you are struggling. You are on the struggle bus. Okay, so we want to attach to our remote process so that we can debug into the other side. Because XAML test starts up a WPF process as kind of a generic shell of an app and then dumps your content into it. And if you want to automatically attach the Visual Studio debugger to it, you have to make an extra call. But it is convenient because that means now you can debug both the test project and the shell app. Okay, so this guy is coming in here. And I want to see what base value is as soon as my debugger stops hanging up. Wow, Visual Studio, you are making my life really hard. Evaluating expression. Visual Studio, that's not supposed to be a hard operation. Base value is null. Oh. Huh? Huh? Base value is null. I'm confused. Let's see. Hang on, I've got WPF open. Where is the full... Hang on, I've actually cloned the WPF repo. This might be a spelunking adventure. Where is... How am I getting a null through there? That is shocking to me. Continue. I mean, if a null comes through, that explains why it doesn't render any items, because it thinks it got a null. So that kind of makes sense. Question now is, why is it getting a null? Is it because of a type coercion problem? And this is base object. Oh, and I guess I actually even did this implementation wrong. These should have question marks on them. So, worth noting, nullable reference types in C#. Oftentimes people assume that there's only two values once you turn nullability on, null and not null. There's a third choice. There's no nullable, no not nullable, and unknown. And the reason this isn't squawking at me because I got them wrong is because the entirety of the WPF libraries have no nullable annotations. It predates nullable annotations, so none of them have decorated, so they're all unknown. And so you can put down either one, and it goes, sure, I'll trust you. It's not a good thing. Basically, every object that comes out of WPF, there's very few that can't be null. Pretty much everything coming out of the WPF libraries is straight up nullable. Okay, so I'm realizing, let me just double check. If that value is coming through as null, let me just make sure that I didn't do something stupid in like my data binding and like bind. Oh, this is the data template sample. Where's the new one? I didn't do anything stupid, right? This guy, I don't know why I have an X name on him. That's kind of stupid. We'll get rid of that because that shouldn't be needed. Okay, so this guy has a binding to items. Oh, interesting. I wonder let's test one more theory. One more theory. Let's do this. Let's try this. I am curious, because this isn't something raising property changed. Let's try that. Because I'm really surprised that I'd get a null through there. But if that binding were being evaluated once and then it never raises property change, the binding doesn't reevaluate, and we get standard behavior. The fact that I've set my data context kind of self-referential to call back on myself is potentially, look at that. Okay, so list works. List works. You just have to not be an idiot. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so if list works, that's fine. Okay, so that's less concerning, right? And so we'll come down here and we'll do this. Does collection view work now if I set it first? Now, in theory, I think collection views are supposed to notify collection changes. Yeah, so in theory, if I do this first, I should be able to add these afterwards, but we're going to run the test and see. If I run here, I might have to go look at that failure that I saw and figure out what exactly it was doing. One failed. Did you even start? Failed to find child element. Line 966. Oh, so it just straight up failed to find any elements. So if we do this, just want to make sure that when that thing launches, okay, so if we look at the rendered control, once Visual Studio figures out how to do breakpoints again, it's empty. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so it is still failing on collection view even when I set it early enough. Okay, good. So, but I suspect now if I catch it inside of that coerce callback, I will have a non-null value. Dear heavens, Visual Studio. Okay, if anybody else is running Preview Visual Studios, you may want to skip Preview 6. Just throwing that out there. Well, if you care about breakpoints. Something is up in Preview 6. Okay, so let's go here. I want to catch this guy here now. Come back here, debug. Okay, so base value. Now we wait while it evaluates the expression. Come on, Visual Studio. This is not a hard operation. Whatever you have done has significantly hampered performance. No, item is not the expression I want you to evaluate here. Okay, cancel. 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 Cancel, cancel, cancel. Thank you. Glad we all agree on that. I would like you to unhang. Wow, this is just bad, Visual Studio. You're making my life hard. At least you're making me not want to work with breakpoints ever again. Because this is darn near unusable. I might have to install non-preview Visual Studio. Normally running the Visual Studio previews are fairly stable. And it's always fun to play with the new toys coming. But by definition, you're on a preview build. So occasionally crap like this happens. And it's the way it goes. However, usually if it's this bad, it gets fixed quickly. So I'm going to go out on a limb. By next Tuesday, preview 7 drops. Hypothetical. Wow, really? You're going to now evaluate expression element. Come on, Visual Studio. This is kind of ridiculous. I'm wondering if I need to start closing up some of these tool windows. I don't know if they're competing with each other. There we go. Okay, list collection view. There we have it. Thank you. That's all I wanted to see. Yeesh. Okay, and this is now more in line with what I kind of expect that I'm running into. Is the underlying collection is non-generic, which means my cast here is going to be highly problematic. Because I look for things that are IEnumerable of T. Okay, so I think the solution here. Okay, we're just gonna stop executing. Stop it, Visual Studio. I think I already know how to fix this. Just shut down and stop doing whatever you think it is you need to be doing. Turn off the debugger and let me drive again. So I think the solution here is going to be this collection needs to be non-generic. So I think this guy here becomes object nullable. This guy drops the T. That guy goes like that. Because I don't think the T is used in most places. Yeah, so it's all, so there's an override. I assume that is basically the same. Yeah, and then we're going to get bit here again. Okay, so I think, yeah, so, okay, because we are only using this in exactly one place, internal item source, to be object nullable. So, okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to go here. 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 We're going to go object nullable and pull it through. And then I think we can probably just about swap out every single one of these guys for object nullable. This guy here is going to be confused for a minute. Thanks. I don't think I really even need the cast there anymore. Yeah. I don't even need the cast. And then this guy goes, we're going to come back to you here in a second. This guy here becomes object nullable. And then this guy here does the same thing. Becomes, hey JC, how you doing? Object nullable. Oh, well, now that we got a couple people on, I want to repeat a couple things. So, Microsoft Ignite is coming up November 15th and 16th. Highly recommended, free for online registration. The in-person is sold out. However, if anyone is going to be there, I will be in person in Seattle. So I will be 5th floor in the, what was it called, like Experts Exchange area around the developer technologies. So if anyone is going to be at the conference in person, feel free to stop by and say hi. Okay, so this guy here is going to go to IEnumerable. This is then going to become enumerable empty of object. And then this becomes object like this. And I think that there just fixes the whole bug. This is the wonderful part about tests. And then the world becomes a happy place. And it blows up because there's now a whole bunch of compile errors. Let's see. What's going on here? So we have something here that is expecting that. There. It's an internal thing, so it shouldn't really, like, I don't expect it to propagate out very far. Though there are going to be, I'm realizing there are some unit tests specifically on that collection as well. I'm probably going to need to go fix those. Yeah. Not a shocking. So this is going to need to change to, let's see, this guy goes like this guy goes like this. Let's see, we drop the T off of this guy. Is T even needed here? Nope. And then get all is expanded. T isn't needed here either. And then we've got a whole metric ton of tests. So that goes away. Nice part is if there's going to be any breaks, man, I will say this AI infused refactor, like all I'm doing is tab, 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 tab. Like I used to have to think about these refactors. Like that right there is what AI is amazing for. Okay, so now let's try to compile again. There we go. Okay, so step one, let's run these we'll run the unit tests on the collection itself. Wow, those were remarkably fast. I don't believe you. Okay, I believe you now. Wow. Okay, so there's some performance improvements in this area too. Dang it. I was really hoping my decision to install Visual Studio would be a simpler one. What plugin enabled that? Oh, the AI infused one. So that is a good question. I think that's IntelliCode, which hang on before I put my foot in my mouth. Yeah, because people liken IntelliCode and Copilot to being very similar. They help you accomplish similar tasks, but they are very different animals. IntelliCode is much more around like your inline refactoring type situations, whereas Copilot is a little more on the creative side of writing and building out stuff. Yeah, so this guy here. Now, the one thing I was hoping to see. Yeah, so this is the guy here. Something in the back of my mind is telling me that it's limited. If you're on like Community Visual Studio, you don't get it. It's not saying it here, but I've got that memory in my head, and that memory could be wrong. So just be aware of that. And IntelliCode only works on C# and Python right now. Though fully expect to have more languages supported soon. Because obviously AI is kind of a big deal, and everybody's all interested in that. Okay, collection view now works. So the one thing I also want to do is I want to switch up. I want to do this, and then edit the collection and make sure it still works, because it should be raising collection changed. And I want to confirm that that still works. So this is worst possible scenario. Let's see, JC. In WPF, when you have an item view model created from a factory from a data grid, how does the item communicate with the main view model, e.g. DrawerHost, and send data to the bound fields on the host? Ah, great question. So this comes up a lot with a anytime you're working with collections of items, you did item view model and Rentopoli. Oh, good. I left an example. Let's go take a look. Because I think, actually, why don't I just open up my actual repo? That sounds like a better idea. And we'll take a quick look, because this guy looks like he's now working and done. So while Rentopoli opens, create branch, let's see, TreeListView, collection view. Boom. Okay, so let's just real quick check the changes. That's a namespace delete. I'm going to discard that change, but that's now just a unit test added. Control, code behind for the control. Inside of here, the collection changed to non-generic. These changes are pretty safe because the compiler would yell if they were wrong, which is great. TreeListView, similar changes. Dropping the generics, fixing the nullability. Dropping the generics, great. And then the test to go with it. Okay. Let's see. Fixing TreeListView to work with non-generic collections. Specifically, collection view. Boom. Do that. Drag, drop, push, and pull request. Do that from local branch to pull request in one drag drop operation. Booyah. And then I just open this up real quick. I come down here, enable auto merge, enable auto merge. Okay, Rentopoli. Because we have item view. Yeah. So down in here, I assume something like this is what you are referring to. So there's a couple ways you can go about doing this, because if I remember correctly, this guy gets a... Yeah, so I have a factory pattern that actually creates them, and I'm guessing one of these guys here has, yeah, my collection. So this guy builds up a collection, uses a factory when he wants to add more, collection synchronization, bippity-boppity-booyah. And then we populate them. So the common pattern of going through and dealing with it is twofold. So one possible choice, because this is on the data grid itself, is, because where is the, yeah, this button here. So you can, so the rows in the data grid are each of the individual items, right? And so you can do something like this button here, where it does a relative binding and says, well, I don't really want the command on my individual item. So for example, the delete command, we really want this up at a, oh, stupid, don't do that. We really want this up at the top level where we can, and I guess we actually didn't even implement delete. We really want this up at the top level because we want the delete to be able to act on the entire collection, not on an individual item. So in this case, rather than trying to have the individual item communicate up in the view model layer, we deal with it in the view and we relative source our binding to an element higher than the individual item, in this case the data grid. You never really want a relative source binding outside of your XAML file. So in this case, we're going from a cell up to the grid itself, no biggie. Right? The data grid knows that it's going to have the collection of items, and then you do this path data context dot, because your relative source binding changes the source of your binding to the UI object, and so then we just have to go data context delete command. So option one, consider a relative source binding or similar, right? Relative source could be replaced with like element name binding if you want to do that approach as well. That's an option. And then we pass the individual item through to the command as a command parameter, because obviously for like a delete, you want to be able to pass it up. The other way you can go through and do it, and inside of here, is if you have something inside the item itself The pub sub approach with the messenger is another one that I very much enjoy doing. This one I think is the more general purpose pattern for doing the communication. You can always do something where you do like, public event handler, thing happened, right? Like you can always do something like this. And then you can have the parent view model watch for the event and all of that stuff. And then this guy just raises the event and it propagates up. This is kind of obnoxious. If you go with the event approach, you have to be really careful about memory leaks, because it's very easy to register for an event and keep an object alive when you didn't intend to. So I like the iMessenger. Specifically in mine, we register up the iMessenger with the weak reference handler. There is a strong reference one as well. But in general, the weak reference one is the preferred option, because then the things can register for messages without actually bringing it out. Trying to add data to the item by selecting from another DB table. Add data to the item by selecting from another DB table. Oh, like you want additional column. So, for example, in this case, I've got a rental item view model, but I want to get maybe like a list of who things are loaned out to type situation, I'm guessing. If I was, I assume something like that is reasonable. I'm trying to remember my data model. Board games. Yeah, for example, this doesn't include the board game that was actually rented. So that's not great. So if we do something like games, and actually I would probably go like this. Observable property. So one real simple option is you could actually just say, you know what I really want to do here is I want the factory to pass in an additional object, right? That's a thing you could do. So depending on where you need to do the querying from, you can always just have the factory pass in as many objects as you want, because your view model can kind of massage multiple sources of data together to get to what you need. What is your problem? Cannot be used as its containing type does not implement from observable object. Well, let's fix that. Observable object. The other one here is, for example, if we do relay command, public async task load games. All right, we do something like this, and then we could do something where it's await board game context, board games. I'm gonna do something bad. To list async. Come up with better query. Var games. All right, and then we could do something like games gets. Oh, thank you, Copilot. You are way too showing off. All right, so you could end up doing something akin to this where you have the relay command loaded in. Now, it gets mildly more awkward. If you do need to, for example, say this loading doesn't make sense to be in the individual item, and instead this loading lives up on the parent already. So option one, the parent could pass the data in after it gets loaded. Let's just look at that real quick. So for example, this thing is loading up and creating those individual item view models, right? There's nothing stopping us from doing something like iterating over this for each item in rentals, right? And doing a query here and going item Stop it. Stop helping me. If you're gonna help, you got to do it right, Copilot. Right. So this thing could have, games here. Right. So the parent can always push the data down, either by passing it as a property or potentially increasing the factory's API surface. So I cheated with a func because it was really simple, one thing in, one thing out. There's nothing stopping you from doing, board game and having the factory take two things in. There comes a point where if you're adding a lot of parameters here, you might want to abandon the cheap delegate approach and actually just write yourself an interface for your factory with a real class. These lightweight factories are great, but there's also a certain point where they're probably not the right answer. The other thing that you can do is if you actually write like a full factory. So for example, public interface, I have changed the func to a factory. Oh, perfect. Rental factory. And then, right, so we can do this, and we can go with task of rental item view model, create item, right, and we can do rental. So the other trick in here is repo. Okay. Look at that in just a second. I'm going to finish this. Public class, rental factory, iRental factory. Is this guy here could also take in the DB context as a dependency. And then once your factory takes in the DB context as a dependency, there's nothing stopping this method from do more queries, from running whatever queries it needs to do, and then returning back a new item view model. That's very possible. But let's take a look at. I want the phone view item to be able to add a sim via button on there. Okay, so we're going to be here. Let's see, probably application. Entities. So we've got sim. Let's see, sim is a simple POCO, ID, phone number, sim number, former user links. Great. And phone, got it. Okay. And so we have features. Oh, I like this setup. Features phones. Okay. Phone view item. Let's see. Hold on. Let's look at the factory real quick. So the factory is already taking in the repository and envelope. So it takes in a view on phone, does the repository phone items view model. Okay. Sorry, I realize I'm getting distracted looking at everything, but kind of like seeing where we're at. Okay, so this guy here, I assume, has your grid. Let's see, big thing. So there's the data grid. This guy has a bunch of stuff on him with various cells. Formatting is very nice. I like. V1 phones and V1 sims. Okay. And then the phones view. Out of curiosity, can I clone this and launch it? Is this easily clonable? Is there any setup I would need to know about? Sweet. Hey, GitHub. Clone repo. Clone with URL. Let's go temp and paste and clone. And open. And open. We'll take a look. Boom, boom, boom. Then rather than going through GitHub, though, stand by while we wait for the inevitable Visual Studio hating me. Okay. There we are, and then I just hit the go button. Could be dependencies on APIs. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Some of the looks like a fairly straightforward one. So let's see, features, phones, and then this is the area we want to play. Let's see, select the phone assist database to use. Application will need to restart. I need a SQLite DB. In first run, return false. I'm assuming that's in here. Let's see. Got it. Update user settings. So I can just do this. I assume. And then that reference there, configure database, and away we go. Look at that. Booyah. And then okay, I assume I click here. An unexpected C phone assistant error log. Oh, that's exciting. Okay, well, let's go here. Make a fake phone record. Oh, I have to actually have something in there. Light, dark. How do I make a fake one if I can't via code? Oh, because it's just ensure created. Got it. DB context, phones, add, so let's just go look at the DB. So we've got V1 phones, V1 sims, and that's all that's in there. In the view load, test will show. What's your problem? Oh, are these get inits? Oh, look at that, required. Let's see, script DB context. Looking features, phones, phone main view model. So I can just do this. Got it. Data grip. Oh, I've seen that before. I should play through that one again because I remember liking data grip before. Let's see, DB context. Save changes. Not gonna deal with async. Yeah, JetBrains products are really nice. I will say that. Error occurred while saving changes. Oh, because the migrations are turned off, there are no. Interesting. Well, let's go ahead and look at it from this perspective, since launching that may end up being slightly more difficult. Okay, so let's come in here. On the phone viewed via button on the phone item. So in here, and we have the phone item view model. So we want a button in here, and we want to be able to try it in the view load async. Try it in the view load async. Ah. Let's see, phone repository, because I assume that's what's. Let's see, is it get create? The problem being is if the DB, oh, just add to the collection. I gotcha. So, let's see, v1 phone, phones gets new, and then we do that maneuver. And then it launches. Oh, except for I got to delete my other code, because that's no worky. There we go. Okay, so I remember what we were doing. We were wanting to be able to add a sim via a button, which I assume one of these buttons here is the intent. Let's take a look at the view and the data grid. Let's see, so what do we got? New button. Got it. When you click the button, so this guy goes here. Sorry, I'm just looking at what we have. When you end up clicking the button, is to be able to add a new sim. I haven't added the new, just remove. Okay. Got it. And do you already have like a drawer host or anything in here? Because this guy here is the user control, which I assume if I look at main window, that's headered view. Let's see. Had a new and not on this repo. Got it. Okay. Okay, so the idea here then would be button with the intent to open up a drawer host to be able to go through and add stuff in. So, okay, this seems straightforward enough. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just do that real quick. Material design. And then we're going to do a drawer host. And then I'm going to wing this and make it up entirely as I go. It'll be great. Boom. Okay, so step one, we need to migrate up the grid row off of there onto the drawer host. That's all fine. Okay, we're going to assume that works. Okay, So then we're going to do something like material design right drawer content. And I should not be debugging while I'm doing this. This is going to make my life really miserable. Okay. And then we will do something like a stack panel and something like a text block, text, add sim, something. And then we will do a text box because we want to actually show doing the data binding with this. We will drop that guy in there. We are going to do something like is right drawer open. Binding selected phone. I think we'll do something like that. Yeah. Selected phone for edit, maybe. And then we're going to do a converter. Let's see. Static resource, not. Oh, you already have a bunch of converters in here. Yes. Where do they live? Let's see. Do we have a not null converter? No. Oh, these are actually coming from the. Oh, I need to go kill these. Okay, those are probably going to die in the 5.0 release because I don't like how I'm littering people's apps with static resources. So we'll just do this. We're going to go here. We're going to go here. Class. Not null converter. Value converter. Implement. And then, yeah, whatever. And then return value. Not. I can type. Don't worry. I'm not as dumb as I look. Okay. We'll come up here, probably near the top. I imagine we've already got some useful spot. So user control resources. Local. Do we have something defined all the way in? Like view model will work. Or actually, hang on. We could probably just let the autocode do it for me. Hey, autocode, do your job. Thanks. And then X key, give it a name. Great. Okay, so we got a converter. Come in here. And for reference, this is definitely going to be there's more than one way to skin a cat approach. And so everything you're going to see here is going to be this is a way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. So I'm going to do an observable property, private v1 phone, what do I call it? Phone for edit. Selected phone for edit. What did I call that sucker? Selected phone for edit. That's what I wanted. Boom. Something like that, something like that, something like that. Boom. Okay, so we've got that. That exists. So when that guy is not null, the right drawer will open. This thing will go in here. We're going to do data context here, binding selected phone for edit. So you'll note I've created a bindable property inside of the view model. I'm using the presence of it to determine whether I open or close the right drawer. Inside of the right drawer, I am setting the data context of kind of the top level control. And then text, binding, I don't know. What was one of the things that we set up on this guy? Sure. I'm just going to pick on a property that has value in it. Change it to something useful later. Ag. And for this is probably the wrong data type. I'm just realizing I made this your model object, not your view model object. So I actually want it to be of type view model. So we want to change that up real quick. So that really should be that. And then back over here, that then will change this to be, oh, probably the same. Okay, good. Still lines up, still works. Okay, and then what we want to do here is in our data grid, we want to add something for it. Let's do a data grid template column. Let's see. And then, do you already have one in here? Because it looked like you had started with some for some buttons already. Yeah, something akin to this. Something akin to this. Oh, we'll kind of copy a bit of that. Come in here. There's all this. It doesn't need an X name. User can sort, data template, button. And then this is where I'm going to get slightly fancier. So this is going to do the relative source binding, relative source, ancestor type, data grid. And then we need a mode of find ancestor. So this is the exact same as doing mode equals here. But mode is the constructor parameter for relative source, so you can get away with that. And then from here, come up here and we'll do path, data context, dot. And then I want to go, not you. Let's see, I want a relay command. We'll call it private void edit phone, and then it'll be phone's item view model phone. Should probably make it nullable, and then selected phone for edit gets phone. That's it. Back over here, phone command, and then I want the command parameter to be the individual item, and then I don't know, we're gonna do, it's a good icon, edit circle. Yay. Okay. Is enabled, we don't need because we have a command. That's fine, and we're gonna change this to edit phone. Something about like that. See if it works. Okay, so we go phones now. Okay, so we've got one guy here. We've got a little button. When we click it, let's see, phone view model was not recognized as a valid Boolean. That sounds like I botched something in my converter, because that should have gone here. Oh, the other plausibility is the thing probably data bound two-way and broke. Let's go here. Let's go here. So where is this call stack coming from? Edit phone. So that is going there. So we apply the value, data binding, convert. Oh, it landed on the wrong converter. Dang it. See, this is why I need to not expose these converters, because they are hosing me over. Let's see, not null converter. And then we want to come back down. See, that's a not converter, not a not null converter. Those are not the same converter. Let's try this again. Okay. There we go. Now we're actually hitting our converter. Huzzah. Okay. So we come over here. We click the button. You'll note we now have our A1 asset tag. And then, well, in that case, it tried to update it and then promptly crashed. So yeah, there's some work that's needed. This is also potentially so. This is so things that you may want to consider. So this is kind of a basic pattern of how you could go about doing it. Obviously, you want to build out everything in your drawer to be whatever editing control you want to be. The other thing that's quite common that I've done in a lot of cases is this property here is the same object as the items in your data grid. They don't have to be. Yeah, I can fork and PR this back to you here in just a second. Because quite often what I have found is the object that you want in your list may only contain a handful of properties, but when you actually get into like your edit view, you want the full object type situation. So if you run into that, this setter right here, where it's just directly assigning, it doesn't have to be so simple, right? This could be a, get the full item and have this selected phone for edit be an editable phone view model or whatever it needs to be. And this is just kind of feeding the data into it. So I've made this a one-liner out of simplicity, but in a lot of cases when building out kind of this what is it, the list details pane type interaction, which is kind of what you're describing here, it's very common for there to be some sort of data transformation that occurs here to get more stuff, for what it's worth. Okay, so there is that, and there is okay, so let me just check what I've done. Okay, so I need to put this on a branch. I can't push to yours directly, but what I can do is I can fork this, create a fork, copy the main branch only, sure. So this will be a good lesson in Git, where you've just cloned a repo willy-nilly, and you realize, shoot, now I want to make a branch and pull request back. Okay, so step one, copy my new remote. Get cracking. We come in here, because you'll see that I only have a single remote here. And so you'll note Git Kraken's very helpful, and it'll automatically find my Git repo. If you don't have that, you could come and set it here, but we're going to leverage the nice Git remote, and we'll add that. Boom, boom, boom. And then we will create a branch, and we will call it something like add edit drawer. That sounds like a good branch. So we come in here, we go stage all changes, great. Example, adding edit drawer. Now, the key thing here is this is a local branch. And so in my case, I want to make sure that I set the upstream appropriately. So you'll note it defaults to origin. I want to make sure that it goes to mine. The other thing is when you go to push, it's going to also prompt you as well because it sees that you've got multiple. It's like, hey, where do you want this to go? It's like, well, I'd like it to go to mine because that's the one I know I'm going to have write access to. Okay, so mine's there. So now I've got it up on my GitHub, and now I want it back into yours, so I just drag it on top of there. Start a pull request. Start a pull request to origin main from Kaboo, add edit drawer. Perfect. Create pull request. And booyah. You got a pull request that you can do what you like with. So hopefully that is helpful, and thank you. It tied in nicely with the earlier theme of the drawer host, so that worked out. We got to come full circle all the way back around. Off to work now. Have a good one, JC. I think I am probably off to bed here in just a moment. I do want to quickly double check and make sure that my other PR actually made it through. I don't see it, so that looks like it made it. Yay! So there will be a nightly build that goes out later, and we will take off. So, woot woot! Best evangelist. Well, thank you, Andrew. Well, change view. Now my keyboard works. Perfect. So hopefully that was helpful to people. Like I said, if there's other controls or things in the library that people feel warrant a deep dive, let me know. I always appreciate when people have samples of their apps of things that they're actually trying to do, because it's nice for me to put together simple examples, but when the rubber meets the road, that's where the important stuff actually happens, and sometimes you just need to see it in a real example, no matter what that ends up looking like. So as always, I do love doing code reviews, so if people have things, I don't mind taking a look at stuff. So yeah, throw them my way. If I've got time, happy to dive into them. With that, I'll tell everybody happy coding. See y'all next time.